Hi friends, welcome to this session, and in this video we'll be creating a Springboot web application image file and later create a container from that image. So I'm using the application Docker Java Web, which we created in our previous session, and what it does is basically it just displays all the users available in the database, and the application is connecting to the MySQL database, which is running in the container locally. We also generated the var file, okay, and this is the var file that we'll be defining in the image file and running in the container. So to run this, to start up the application successfully, one thing that we will be changing in our database configuration here is the host name here. The host name localhost won't work because the application is now will be running in the container. So localhost means 127.0.0.1, and if it is running inside the container, it won't be able to communicate with the MySQL, which is running on a different container. Okay, so what we are going to do is we will update this localhost with the IP address of the system. Okay, and this will be now this way the application will be able to communicate with the MySQL container in real time. You'll be using the IP address or the host name of the server where the MySQL database is running. Okay, as these are both the containers are running on the same system here, so we are using the IP address of the system. So now let's, as we have changed the application.properties file, let's regenerate our var file. Okay, so wonderful. So the var file is created. Now what I'm going to do is I'll refresh this and copy this var file and place it in the same folder as our Docker file. Okay, perfect. So I have Dockerfile and the var file in the same folder. We are going to use the Dockerfile, the same Dockerfile which we used in our previous session, where we created the OpenJDK JRE11 image. Okay, so let's see what it has. Okay, it has 5 instructions, and we'll be adding instruction to copy the var file from the host operating system to the container. So let's first add the work directory instruction. So what it does is it specifies or defines the working directory of the container. So instead of routing to the once we step inside the container, instead of taking to the root folder, now it will default to the working directory. So let's try to name this like work Tomcat web apps. Okay, the next instruction is the copy instruction. What it does is it copies the source to the destination, and here source is our var file. So we'll copy this here, and the destination, what we are going to do is we're going to use tomcat/web apps, and this time I'm going to change the name to just Docker web app. And next what we're going to do is we will update the command instruction here, because when we start the container, we also want to start the web application, that is Spring Boot application. And the command here would be, the executable command here would be Java followed by the parameters. So the parameters here, what we're going to pass is first the flag, and this is an array. You can see the the command instruction is an array. First being the executable and next being the parameters. So here we have jar as a flag, and next followed by the var file. So this will trigger or run our application. So I'll save this, and now what I'm going to do is I'll go to my command prompt, and let's take a look at the images that we have. Images, and you can see that we have MySQL. Okay, so and what we'll do is we'll make sure that the MySQL container is up and running, because an application is going to communicate with MySQL container when it starts. So you can see that it is up and running, so that's good. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to build the image, and I'll name it as Spring Web, and it is in the current folder, the Dockerfile. So let's hit enter, and you can see that it is running. Okay, so the file is created. This time it was quick because all the resources that were needed were already available for Docker daemon, because we use the same Docker image file that we used in our previous session. And you can see that the file is created, the image file, and it is created with latest tag. So let's take a look at that. And you can see we have Spring Web. Okay, now let's create the container by using run command, and this time I'm going to run in a detached mode, and I'll also name this as web container, and I'll use network option here, and the network that I'm going to use is Docker network, which we created in our previous session. The reason why I'm using Docker network is MySQL container is using Docker network. So if you want to have two containers communicate with each other, they both need to be on the same network. Okay, so I'm using network as Docker network. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use publish flag, and the reason I'm using is the application, Spring Boot application, when it starts up, it is going to start on 8080 port number, and that port number that is within the container needs to be published to the external world to access that application. So what I'm going to do is, this is my external port IP address of my host system that the application will be that will be through which we'll be accessing the application running inside the container, and the container IP address, the port number is 8080. And next, the Spring Web, that is the image repository name, that is Spring Web. So I think we are good with all the required options here, and let's hit enter. Okay, so the container is created. Now let's check the container list. Okay, it says up and running, and it's listening to the port 8080. Let's check the logs and make sure that the container logs are clean by using logs flag, and the ID is EF, and hit enter, and you can see that. Okay, so the logs looks clean and no error, and it says Spring Data Repository initialized and started, and the port number is 8080. Okay, fantastic. So let's try to access the application through browser, and let's say localhost 8080, and this should display all the users that are available. So wonderful. Now you can see that all the users are listed. So only we have one user called John, and you can access your web application which is running inside the container and accessing the database that is running inside another container. So that's all for this video, and I will see you in the next session.